He threw a drink in my face, so I called his boss and ended his career. The gin and tonic hit my face before I even saw it coming. Ice cubes bounced off my forehead. Alcohol burned my eyes. The entire restaurant went silent. That's what you get for thinking you're better than me, Brent snarled, loud enough for everyone to hear. You're nothing. You hear me? Nothing. 50 people stared. My shirt was soaked. My face was dripping. And Brent Holloway, my ex-business partner, the guy I'd helped get his job, the man who owed me everything, was smirking like he'd just won something. That was his first mistake. His second was forgetting I knew exactly who signs his paychecks. 48 hours later, I watched Brent get escorted out of his office building by security. His six-figure job? Gone. His reputation? Destroyed. His smug face? Finally showing the fear it should have felt when he threw that drink. You won't believe how one public humiliation turned into the most surgical career destruction I've ever executed. But before I show you how I completely ended this arrogant bully's career with 3 phone calls, smash that subscribe button, because revenge stories this satisfying are rare. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started. My name is Calvin Hayes, and I'm a corporate consultant. I help companies optimize their operations, cut costs, improve efficiency. It's boring work, but it pays well, and I'm good at it. I met Brent Holloway 7 years ago at a networking event in Chicago. He was fresh out of business school, full of confidence, but zero real-world experience. We hit it off over drinks, talking about industry trends and corporate strategy. I need someone like you in my corner, he said that night. Someone who actually knows how business works, not just theory from professors who've never worked a real job. I liked his energy, his ambition, so when he asked me to mentor him, I agreed. For 2 years, I taught Brent everything I knew. Connected him with my network. Introduced him to potential clients. Gave him real projects to work on so he could build his portfolio. When he struggled with difficult clients, I'd step in and smooth things over. You're like the big brother I never had, he told me once. I don't know what I'd do without your guidance. Then he landed an interview at Meridian Consulting, one of the biggest firms in Chicago. Senior analyst position. $90,000 salary. I'm nervous, he admitted the night before his interview. What if they ask about my experience? I spent 3 hours coaching him. Gave him my case studies to reference. Told him exactly what the partners would want to hear. Even called my contact at Meridian and put in a good word. He got the job. For the first year, we stayed close. He'd call me for advice on projects, invite me to company happy hours, credit me publicly for everything I'd taught him. I was proud. I'd helped someone succeed. Then he got promoted to director. Suddenly, his calls became less frequent. When we did talk, there was a new edge to his voice. Condescending. Superior. You're still doing small-time consulting? He asked once, like it was beneath him. You should think bigger, Cal. Get with a real firm like Meridian. I laughed it off. Figured the promotion had gone to his head temporarily. But things got worse. He started taking credit for strategies I'd taught him, presenting them as his own innovations. When mutual contacts asked about our relationship, he'd say vague things like, Cal helped me early on, but I've outgrown that phase. The final straw came at an industry conference 6 months ago. I was presenting on supply chain optimization, literally my specialty. Brent showed up with his Meridian colleagues. During Q&A, he raised his hand. Interesting presentation, Calvin, but these approaches are pretty outdated. At Meridian, we've moved beyond these basic frameworks. He proceeded to explain advanced strategies that were literally from case studies I'd given him 2 years ago. He was using my own work to undermine me in front of hundreds of industry professionals. His colleagues laughed along with him. I stood at that podium, humiliated, while my former mentee made me look incompetent. But Brent was about to cross a line that would cost him everything. Have you ever had someone you helped turn on you? Let me know in the comments. 3 weeks after that conference, I ran into Brent at an upscale restaurant in downtown Chicago. I was there celebrating my anniversary with my wife, Paige. He was at the bar with some Meridian colleagues. I tried to be cordial, walked over, extended my hand. Brent, good to see you. He looked at my hand like it was diseased. Didn't shake it. Calvin. His voice was ice. His colleagues were watching, smirking. How have you been? Congratulations on the director position. Save it, he cut me off. I don't have time for small talk with small-time consultants. His colleagues laughed. One of them, a younger guy in an expensive suit, leaned over. This the guy you said taught you the basics before you knew better? Yeah, Brent said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Calvin here thinks he's some kind of mentor. Reality is, I had to unlearn most of what he taught me. His methods are from the 90s. My face burned. Brent, what's going on? Why are you? Why am I what? Telling the truth. He stood up, getting in my face. You want to know the truth, Cal? You're washed up. You're irrelevant. The only reason you had any success is because you got lucky early. Now you're just coasting on a reputation you don't deserve. I helped you get that job. You made a phone call. Big deal. I'm the one who crushed the interviews. I'm the one who's built a reputation at one of the best firms in the country. You didn't do that. I did. His colleagues were eating this up. One was recording on his phone. Maybe you should try getting a real job instead of playing consultant with small businesses who don't know any better, Brent continued. Oh wait, you couldn't. Because firms like Meridian would never hire someone as outdated as you. The entire restaurant was watching now. My wife was at our table, pale with shock. Brent, stop. You don't mean this. I absolutely mean it. You're nothing, Calvin. You hear me? Nothing. He picked up his gin and tonic. I saw it happening but couldn't believe it. He threw the entire drink in my face. The glass shattered on the floor. Ice cubes bounced off my forehead. Alcohol burned my eyes and soaked my shirt. The restaurant gasped. His colleagues erupted in laughter. That's what you get for thinking you're better than me, Brent said, his voice carrying across the silent room. Security started moving toward us. Brent threw $200 bills on the bar. Come on, guys, let's go somewhere they don't let in has-beens. They left, laughing, leaving me standing there dripping and humiliated in front of 50 people. What Brent didn't know was that I'd been documenting every stolen strategy, every plagiarized presentation, every lie he'd told about his accomplishments. I'd been watching him build his career on my foundation while pretending he'd done it alone. But that's not even the worst part. I didn't cry, didn't yell, just walked to the bathroom, cleaned myself up as best I could, and went back to my wife. We're leaving, Paige said, already standing. Calvin, I'm so sorry. It's fine. My voice was eerily calm. Let's just go. In the car, Paige was furious. You need to report him. That was assault. You could press charges. No. Charges mean lawyers and months of proceedings. He'd play victim, say I provoked him. It would be messy. Then what are you going to do? I looked at her. I'm going to destroy him. Completely. Professionally. So thoroughly that he'll never work in this industry again. When we got home, I went straight to my office. Started pulling files. For 7 years, I'd been generous with Brent. Shared my strategies, my frameworks, my client approaches. I'd given him access to proprietary methodologies I'd developed over 15 years of consulting. He'd been using them at Meridian, presenting them as his own original work. I pulled up presentations he'd posted on LinkedIn, case studies he'd published, conference talks he'd given. Every single one contained my methodologies, my frameworks, my analysis structures, with his name on them. Little did they know, I was just getting started. I found an interview he'd done with a business journal 6 months ago. In it, he described developing a revolutionary approach to supply chain optimization that was literally word for word from a white paper I'd written in 2019. He'd changed a few terms, but the structure, the examples, the calculations, all mine. I found internal Meridian documents he'd accidentally sent to my email 2 years ago. Proposals where he'd copied entire sections from materials I'd given him, presenting them as his original analysis. Then I discovered something that changed everything. You won't believe what I discovered next. One of his Meridian colleagues, a woman named Whitney, had reached out to me on LinkedIn a year ago. She wanted to learn about corporate consulting, asked if I'd mentor her like I'd mentored Brent. Brent speaks so highly of learning from you, she'd written. He credits you with teaching him everything he knows. I'd been too busy to respond. But now I messaged her back. Whitney, thanks for reaching out. Quick question, does Brent still credit me for teaching him his methods? Or has that story changed? She responded within an hour. Honestly, he tells us he developed all his approaches himself. Says you taught him basic stuff, but he had to figure out the real strategies on his own. Why do you ask? I sent her 3 of my original white papers. Then 3 of Brent's presentations using identical frameworks. Does this look familiar? She went silent for an hour. Then, oh my God, he's been lying to everyone. These are your methodologies. He presents them like he invented them. Whitney became my inside source. Turned out she wasn't the only one at Meridian who'd noticed inconsistencies in Brent's claims. He tells different stories about his background depending on who's asking. She told me over coffee. To clients, he's a self-made strategic genius. To partners, he studied under you briefly but surpassed your teachings. To junior staff, you're barely mentioned. By the time I was done investigating, I had enough to prove Brent had built his entire Meridian career on plagiarized work. But that wasn't enough. I wanted his bosses to understand exactly what kind of fraud they'd promoted to director. What would you have done at this point? Justice or mercy? Comment below. I spent 2 weeks building an airtight case. Not emotional, not vindictive, just facts. I created a detailed document, professional misconduct report, Brent Holloway, Director, Meridian Consulting. Inside was everything. Side-by-side comparisons of my original work and his innovations. Timestamps proving my materials predated his presentations by years. Testimony from Whitney about his false claims regarding his method's origins. But I needed more than evidence. I needed the right delivery to the right people. This is where it gets really good. I reached out to my contact at Meridian, Kenneth Pryor, a senior partner who'd helped me on projects years ago. We'd stayed friendly. He didn't know I'd mentored Brent. Kenneth, I need to discuss a sensitive matter regarding one of your directors. It concerns intellectual property theft and misrepresentation. Can we meet confidentially? We met at his office. I brought printed documentation, 50 pages of evidence. Brent Holloway has been presenting my proprietary consulting frameworks as his own original work, I explained. I mentored him for 2 years, gave him full access to my methodologies. He's been using them to win clients and advance his career at Meridian while publicly discrediting me. Kenneth's face darkened as he reviewed the documents. These frameworks are the basis of his strategic director promotion. He told us he'd developed these approaches himself. He didn't. And there's more. I showed him the Business Journal interview where Brent claimed to have revolutionized approaches that were actually my published work from 2019. If this is true, Kenneth said carefully, it's grounds for immediate termination. It also exposes Meridian to liability if clients discover we've been selling them stolen methodologies. I'm aware. That's why I'm bringing it to you first, quietly, before taking it to industry publications or clients directly. Kenneth appreciated the courtesy. What do you want? I want him gone. Fired publicly enough that everyone knows why. I want his reputation destroyed so thoroughly that no respectable firm will touch him. And I want Meridian to acknowledge where those methodologies actually came from. Give me 48 hours. They thought they were dealing with a washed-up consultant who'd roll over after public humiliation. They were about to learn they had messed with someone who documents everything and knows exactly how corporate politics work. Kenneth called me 36 hours later. We've completed an internal investigation. Everything you presented checks out. Brent Holloway plagiarized your work extensively. We've also discovered he's been inflating his billable hours and lying about client meeting attendance. What's the next step? He's being terminated today. HR is handling it now. I drove to Meridian's office building. Parked across the street. Watched. At 2:47 p.m., Brent walked out flanked by 2 security guards. He was carrying a cardboard box. His face was red, furious. People in the lobby were staring. One of the guards said something. Brent tried to go back inside. They physically blocked him. He started yelling. I couldn't hear what, but everyone in that lobby turned to watch. Security escorted him firmly to the sidewalk. He saw me sitting in my car across the street. Our eyes met. The smugness was gone, replaced with shock, then understanding, then pure hatred. I waved, smiled, started my car, and drove away. But the best part was yet to come. By 5 p.m., the Industry Whisper Network was on fire. Brent Holloway, hotshot director at Meridian, fired for plagiarism and fraud. The story spread fast. Consultants love scandal. Whitney messaged me. They're telling staff he violated ethics policies and misrepresented intellectual property. Everyone's talking about it. His team is shocked. At 7 p.m., Meridian released a carefully worded statement to clients. Meridian Consulting has parted ways with Brent Holloway following an investigation into professional misconduct. Clients who worked with Mr. Holloway will be reassigned to other directors. We apologize for any misrepresentation. Professional misconduct. In consulting, that's career death. Every firm would see that termination reason and know exactly what it meant. My phone rang at 8 p.m. Brent. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. You destroyed me. His voice was shaking with rage. You called my boss and got me fired. Over what? A drink? Grow up, Calvin. Over plagiarism, Brent. Over 7 years of stealing my work and passing it off as yours. Over building your career on my foundation while publicly humiliating me. I never stole. You used my supply chain framework in the Johnston pitch. My cost optimization model for the Bradshaw account. My operational efficiency structure for at least 12 client presentations. All presented as your original work. Kenneth has the evidence. Silence. He knew I had him. You're petty. You're vindictive. I made one mistake. You made hundreds of mistakes over 7 years. The drink was just the last one. That's when I stopped protecting you and started documenting everything. I'll sue you for defamation. Sue me with what money? You just lost your 6-figure income. And it's only defamation if it's false. Everything I told Meridian is probably true. You know it. Kenneth knows it. That's why you're fired. He was breathing hard. This isn't over. Yes, Brent. It is. Your reputation in this industry is finished. No firm will hire you after being terminated for plagiarism from Meridian. You're done. I hung up. The next morning, I received an email from Kenneth. Calvin, Meridian would like to formally credit you for the methodologies Brent misappropriated. We're also interested in discussing a consulting partnership. Your approaches have been incredibly valuable to our clients. We'd like to work with you directly going forward. Brent had been right about one thing. Meridian was one of the best firms in the country. Now they wanted to work with me. Not him. Me. 2 weeks after his termination, Brent showed up at my office. My assistant called back. There's a Brent Holloway here to see you. Should I tell him you're busy? No. Send him in. He looked terrible. Unshaven. Wrinkled shirt. The arrogance had been replaced with desperation. I need you to call Meridian. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. That we worked collaboratively and you're fine with me using those frameworks. I leaned back in my chair. Why would I do that? Because I'm destroyed, Cal. I've applied to 15 firms. Nobody will touch me. My wife is talking about separation. I can't pay my mortgage. You won. Okay. You won. Now show some mercy. Mercy. I kept my voice level. Where was your mercy when you threw a drink in my face in front of 50 people? When you called me washed up and irrelevant? When you told your colleagues I was nothing? I was drunk. I was stupid. I'm sorry. You weren't sorry when you spent 7 years stealing my work. You weren't sorry when you publicly humiliated me at that conference. You're sorry now because you're facing consequences. What do you want from me? To grovel? Fine. I'm groveling. I'm begging. Please. Help me. I pulled out my phone. Showed him the video one of his colleagues had recorded at the restaurant. The whole thing. Him insulting me, throwing the drink, calling me nothing. This video has been viewed 47,000 times. Industry people have seen it. Clients have seen it. That's who you really are, Brent. An arrogant bully who tears down the people who helped him. I'll delete it. I'll make them delete it. You can't delete the internet. You can't undo what you did. You built a career on my work while treating me like garbage. Now you live with the consequences. He stood up, hands shaking. You're going to regret this. When I recover. You won't recover, I said quietly. The consulting world is small. Everyone knows what you did. Meridian made sure of that. You're blacklisted, Brent. Your career is over. He left without another word. 3 months later, I signed a partnership deal with Meridian. Not as an employee, as an independent consultant with my own terms and credit for my methodologies. I'm making 3 times what Brent made as director. My name is on the proposals. My frameworks are properly credited. And every time a Meridian consultant uses my approaches, clients know they came from me. Last I heard, Brent took a job in sales at a mid-level firm. No more strategy work. No more director title. Just cold calling and begging for meetings. The man who called me nothing is now actually nothing in our industry. Justice was served, and karma had the final word. Brent Holloway's career in consulting never recovered. He's still working sales, making a fraction of what he used to earn. His name is still associated with plagiarism and fraud in our industry. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Share in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where karma delivers perfect justice.